Have you ever had this happen to you? You're working on a drawing, you love the way it's going, it looks great. You keep going on it, you start pushing some of the details, some of the shading, then you step back and you're like, no, what happened? It looked so good and now it looks so bad. Where did you lose control? This happens to me all the time and I can't stand it. It's like my least favorite thing. That's what I want to talk about today. Okay, so I released a video 2 days ago showing the introductory steps to capturing a portrait from a difficult angle. Today is part 2 of that session. Part 2 is important because this is the stage where you most likely lose control of your drawings. I know that because it's the stage where I'm most likely to lose control of my drawings. So in this stage, we're going to go painfully slow. So step 1, we captured the orientation of the head, the neck, and the shoulders. And we really tried to hold back from secondary structural elements like the brow ridge, the wedge shape of the nose, the chin, the mouth, the muscles and bones in the neck and shoulders. Okay, so we did that. We found the orientation of the 3 major shapes. In this session, we're going to begin to move in, find the anatomical structure of the neck, shoulders, clavicles, eyes, nose, mouth, things like that. And we're going to do so slowly and carefully, and we're not going to lose control of our drawings. You see, when you start to like the way your drawing looks, that's when you are at the highest risk of losing control of it. Because when we like something, we tend to turn the music up, bump our heads a little bit more, and stop working really hard. When you like what you've got, that's when you step it up and you work even harder. All right, so let's jump in. Now to finish the orientation here, now I feel like it's time, and the right time is going to change from drawing to drawing, from pose to pose, from subject to subject. But I feel like this brow ridge is going to be very helpful at this stage. So first of all, I want to know how high or how low do I place it? Once again, jump into my YouTube video, Finding Distance, if you don't know how to do this. But I'm finding from the middle of the brow ridge to the top of the hair, it'll go into the head. Let's see, 1, 2, just a little less than 3. So 1, 2, 3. That's exactly 3. So I'll go a little more. 1, 2, 3. Something like that. And I feel like I made a mistake in my measuring, so I'm going to measure one more time. And this is one of the biggest tools for the artist, right? Is you measure something, and it's so much easier to measure a second time than it is to try to fix a busted drawing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think I got it right. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And what I actually found here was that the distance from the top of the hair to the brow ridge was the same as from the brow ridge to the crest of the upper lip. And so these distances are starting to become fairly useful. Okay, let's drop this center line. Sometimes center lines are helpful, sometimes they're not. It's kind of the Loomis method. I don't always use it. I use it sometimes, but right now I feel like it'll just be kind of helpful. And the brow ridge. Now I've got this middle point, but then look at how the brow ridge drops. So I can begin just planning the overall shape of the brow ridge, or the shape of what the eyebrows are doing across the brow ridge. Looking for angles here. We never stop looking for angles. And now I'm stepping back, and am I starting to feel the expression come to life? Yeah, I think it is starting to come to life. Okay, so we know that this is the line for the upper lip, the crest of the upper lip. Well, we've got a fairly simple shape here between the crest of the upper lip and the nasal spine. And what I'm going to try to do here is just treat the nose like a very simple wedge shape. I am not trying to model the nose to perfection right now. I just want the basic shape. Doing a quick measurement just to see where the tip of the nose is going to go. Now I won't have to fix that because I just took the time to quickly measure it. And look at how the first thing I'm thinking about is just under side, the plane underneath the nose. And I wouldn't usually shade it in, but just to show you how it's functioning, you can see the shadow there. Same thing here, the angle for the bridge of the nose, something like this. Okay, that lower lid really does sit right about on the same horizontal line. So I can bring this in, around, and here I'm just thinking about the shape of this orbit. And I'm trying to reduce it to as simple as a shape from the eyebrow down to the lower eyelid. Once we get this basic shape, we allow it to just sit there like that. We're not adding the eye just yet. We're still sculpting. So we're not adding details yet. You think about it, if you're molding this in clay, you wouldn't be doing eyeballs yet. You're still pushing in the recesses for the orbits before you start molding the eyes, right? Well, same thing with drawing. Let's get the volume, the major volumes planned before we get into the detail. So I'm stepping back. Does this feel correct? Am I starting to see this structure come to life yet? Let's keep going. Mouth. Using a plumb line, I observed that the left corner of the mouth falls inside this shape. Something like right here. You know, our left brain will tell us the mouth goes out wider than the nose. Well, don't just listen to that arbitrarily. Make sure you do your measuring. This drawing would be a lot worse if I just assumed that's where that went. Okay, so between the nose and the chin, I think the most important point to get right is the shadow underneath the bottom lip. So I'll measure from the point of the chin to the crest of the bottom lip. And it's going to come to about right here. And then I've just got this shadow shape here. Just paying attention to the shape of this shadow. Stepping back. And then we've got the corners of the mouth sitting on top. So I'm just going to come over here. And you can begin to see this mouth come to life. I am just pinpointing the shadow underneath the bottom lip and the shadows for the corners of the mouth. And if you place all of these points correctly, I'm just double checking this angle. I think this needs to come up a little bit more. If you place the corners of the mouth and the shadow underneath the bottom lip correctly, usually placing the rest of the mouth is quite simple. Okay. You can find lots of videos on how to draw lips, how to draw eyes, how to draw noses, and those are helpful for sure. But you learn how to draw shadow shapes from observation, and you'll be outdrawing everyone who spends all their time on tips and tricks videos. Okay, so I stepped back and I feel like this brow needs to, or this shadow needs to come out just a little bit more. You know, often what you do is you just step back and you take a moment and just look at what you've done. And if it doesn't look quite right, allowing your eye to just dart back and forth between the subject and the drawing, if it doesn't look quite right, what you start doing is you just let yourself look. And you say, well, what's the difference between my drawing and the subject up there? And you might start to say, well, my drawing looks like he's got a weaker jawline. Or maybe it just starts with, why does the subject in the photo look stronger? And then you might think, what about it looks stronger? Or what about it looks leaner or thicker or thinner? And you start to figure out what the problems are. And then you can move into your drawing. And you can start to fix these issues, knowing exactly what to do. If you ever find yourself just pushing charcoal around or graphite or whatever it is that you're using, you're in big trouble. Take a break. So you can see here, I'm beginning to allow myself, now that all the major shapes are in the right places, I'm beginning to allow myself to begin thinking about the smaller shapes. Or begin thinking about nuancing the bigger shapes. Notice how I'm observing that this isn't such a simple angle. Give it this little bump that we see, and that begins to communicate as a trapezius. Observing this little shadow shape right here, and this shadow shape starts to function as the anterior deltoid. Moving up here, we'll see the clavicle right here. And this shadow pushes up right here because of the lateral head of the sternocleidomastoid. But none of this is important as just drawing from observation. Once again, if you want to learn Anatomy for the Artist at a deeper level, check out my Patreon or send me a message. Let me know you want to take classes. If not, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Definitely going to be creating as much free content as I can. Yeah, so at this stage it's just all about nuancing. Same thing over here. We've got this very intense shadow shape right here. So I'm not gonna get too into worrying about the anatomy. I'm just gonna draw the shape of the shadows. And if you draw the shapes of the shadows faithfully, the anatomy will start to come to life all on its own. Got this pedestal down here. I won't really get into that. I'm just not as interested in it, and I'm trying to keep this semi-short. Okay, and just to illustrate how to get into shapes within shapes. So we accurately found the shapes of the orbits, the brow ridge, and I think the emotion is starting to come to life in here. So now what I want to do is find the eyes within the orbit shapes, and I think that's probably where I'll stop for today. really do want to keep these videos to a length where you all will actually watch the whole thing. So here, I'm just looking at one shape within another shape. I mean, imagine like you're drawing an apple inside of a bowl. Really, don't overcomplicate it. Just find the shape inside the shape. And then don't relax on those angles. Bring this up, observing this angle moving across here. And step back. Am I starting to see this? Yeah, I am. We can start to nuance once we have the major shapes in place. This shadow of the eyebrow comes out and then down, but it really softens here, and you start to see the shadow right in here. And the reason that the shadow does this, once again, this is some premium anatomy content, is because the eyebrows begin in the center of the superciliary crest, sitting right on the superciliary crest, and then they usually move out above that crest. That's just the technical term for a brow ridge. And that's why you often get this highlight right in here, because the brow ridge is protruding, catching light below the eyebrow. So, hope this stuff is helpful. Okay, next eye. Finding these angles to connect the inner canthus here. Moving this over here. Stepping back to see, does that feel like it's the right distance? Wrap it in and over. Just trying to draw this shadow shape correctly. And then same thing as the other eye. Not going to assume the angle of this lower eyelid. I'm going to find it, because if I assume it, I will get it wrong. And then just draping the hair over this drawing correctly is really easy. After all the hard work we've done, moving from the big picture to the little picture is so much easier. Getting the big picture is what's hard. Getting the big picture is what will separate the pros from the amateurs. So if you want to get better at drawing, just concentrate on that big picture as long as you can. Really want to make sure I place the earlobe on the right relational line over here. I'm comparing everything to everything constantly. Alright, so I hope this has been helpful. Remember, the biggest point I want to hammer home in this video, when your drawing is going well, when you have the structural orientation of the head, neck, and shoulders positioned correctly, you will feel good about it. And you will be tempted to enter into that fugue state where your mind enters limbo. It goes somewhere else and your body keeps drawing without any kind of supervision. Don't let this happen. When your drawing is going well, when you have the orientation of the major volumes captured, work harder, lean in, go slower, and don't let yourself lose control of your drawing. As always, like the video if you liked it, comment, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I'm noticing that like only 40% of the people watching these videos are actually subscribed to my channel. Please subscribe and send it to your friends who also want to learn how to draw. So, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.